Okay, so today we have a couple of IndiPRO tools, external power solutions for some of your different cameras or different accessories out there. Now this one in particular takes Sony style batteries like the NPF 970, the big bricks. This is one right here. This is very popular type of battery that you can find for Sony. They use them for LED lights, they use them for monitors. Most of you guys may already have this. Now 970 is just a capacity, kind of how large it is. So this is not an actual Sony. This is a Swit brand. I like this one for a couple of different reasons. Has a built-in meter on the battery and also has a DC output that I use for powering other accessories. But I use the Swit brand. Anyways, so the way these IndiPRO tools, external power solutions work is they give you this battery adapter here where you dock the battery. And then they have a cable that comes out to a dummy battery. Now, as you can see, this one here is for a Canon LPE6. So this one can give you extra runtime on your Canon because the LPE6 batteries are fairly small in capacity. And while you can put this into your Canon camera, you know, the Canon DSLRs, they run very short. So this one has a much larger capacity, as you can see. So several times the capacity of these LPE6. So you'll get longer runtimes with a battery like this. Not too expensive either. As you can see here, we have one for the popular Sony cameras, Sony a7S, a7S II, a7R II, even the RX10 Mark II. So this is for the Sony cameras. Then they also have one where it has a USB out here. So this is like a mini USB. And you could probably use something like this to maybe keep your GoPro powered up if you're doing a time lapse or something, so it'll run for a long time. We'll get into this a little bit later, but let's take a look at some of these features here. Let's start with the Canon one. This is very important because the dummy battery, I don't know if you can see this here, has two slots or two guides on the side, and that is the dummy battery. Now, a lot of companies sell dummy batteries that don't have two guides in the dummy battery itself. So while you could fit it inside of a Canon DSLR body, you won't be able to use it to adapt to other accessories. For instance, my Blackmagic design video assist monitor here, if you were to slide a Canon battery in here, there are two guides here. So you're using a OEM Canon battery. Now, if your dummy battery doesn't have the two guides, then it won't drop down. Now, IndiPRO Tools has two guides on their dummy batteries. They actually highlight this feature pretty much every time they talk about their dummy batteries that they make for Canon, that they have the two guides. And they highlight that because there are a lot of companies that don't make that, which means that those dummy batteries are incompatible with a lot of accessories. They will work in Canon DSLR bodies, but not for a lot of different accessories. Another example is if you were to drop a Canon LPE6 battery down into the Blackmagic Design Micro Cinema camera. It has two guides here, so if your dummy battery doesn't have the two guides, it doesn't drop down all the way. So you end up having to modify your dummy battery or start cutting up the guides on your accessory or camera. So this one will drop in perfectly, just like that. And then if we wanted to, we could take a big capacity Sony here and drop that in place. And we'd be able to power our micro cinema camera for several times longer than a, LPE6 battery. So this is really, really good solution. Batteries lock in very well. As you notice, I don't know if you guys could tell, but it has a rubberized coating on the tray. So it doesn't feel cheap at all. It feels really good. It's totally rubberized. I like that. Now, mounting these up, you have a 15 mil clamp underneath. Now you can loosen this up and you can rotate the clamp, so you can mount this a couple of different ways, or you can take off the clamp altogether and you have a quarter thread here. So with this, you can either put like a shoe mount and put it on top of your hot shoe, put it on top of a ball head, a friction arm. So this is pretty much just a quarter tap here, and you can use it to mount it in a couple of different ways. So they give you this 15 mil clamp adapter here, which I use to mount onto my systems. All right, so we talked about the different ones that we have here. They have other ones available, but Sony's probably, to me, going to be the most popular one because Sony cameras have batteries that suck and you need extra runtime. And then the Canon one I think is secondary. I think you'll get a lot of use out of that. The USB one here, while I think it's great and I think you could use it to, you know, power up maybe your audio recorders or, like I said, your GoPro, you know, it really is just USB, and there are a lot of options for USB batteries out there. So I'm not sure how well that's going to go. I think the best thing you can get is it has a great mount on here. You know, outside of buying like a general USB battery on the market, you know, you have a good 15 mil clamp mount and using popular batteries you guys probably already have. But outside of that, I think USB, you can kind of replace that with a lot of the batteries available out there. Anyways, let's get the Sony one onto our camera because I think, again, this is going to be really important. Now, this Sony battery works, again, with a lot of the popular cameras, even the RX10 Mark II or A7R2, A7S, A7S2. And so all we need to do is get the dummy battery in here. Then on the side of your door, you have a little flap. So we get that on there. And then we'll put our battery in here. Now once this battery is locked, it does not come out unless you push this release button. So it's on there really well. And then as you can see, if we turn this on, we'll get a menu on our camera here. There you go. You guys see that? So powers up, and I used it the other day. We get hours and hours of runtime. Really cool, really good solution. So some of you guys might be thinking, how am I going to get this mounted? So I'll show you kind of the most simplest setup, probably fairly affordable as well. Here we have a 15 mil base plate. And you can get cages for your Sony, which probably comes with rails. That's probably the best thing you could do. But if you don't really have a lot of rigs, you can get this adapter right here. I like it because it's very small and it works on a lot of different cameras. If I wanted to mount this onto my Micro Cinema, there you go. I've got 15 mil rails on my Micro Cinema camera. If I wanted to put it on my RX10, I could put rails over here. So it's cool to just be able to mount rails to whatever you want. So this is probably the easiest way. So what we'll do is I'll put the battery in just to get that in there now. And then we have this 15 rod clamp base. We'll put that in. All right, we got that there. I'm going to throw a couple of PV Gear carbon rods through here. Just like this. Tighten this up. Now once you have the base on here, you can even throw your QR plate for your Manfrotto underneath. So we'll just throw this one on. So now with that QR base here, you can mount it directly onto a tripod. Then we have this guy over here, and we can mount this a couple of different ways. We could put it in sideways like this, or we could rotate the entire thing and come in this direction. I like to mount it sideways. It gives me a little bit more clearance behind the camera. Then we just tighten this up. And then I don't know how many of you guys do this, but with the excess wires, I actually like to kind of tuck them into the 15 mil rod. So, because these rods are hollow, so I just like to tuck them in all the way. And then I'll probably clean them up with some Velcro straps or something, but hiding them in the rails is a nice way to keep them, tucked away, hidden. And there you go. We have a power solution on our Sony. We still have access here to look at the screen and the menu. Normally I mount a monitor along with my system, but this is kind of the most basic setup that you can get for 15 mil rails. So if you just want to run around like this and shoot, you can. If you had a small monitor off to the side, even better. I'll have links below this video on a lot of the parts that we have here. But that's a quick look at IndiPRO Tools' new power solutions that support a couple of different dummy batteries, so you can power up different cameras and accessories. And if you guys want more information about this, check out those links below this video or on the blog cheesycam.com.